जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधव जय राधा माधव जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल जय श्री राधा माधव अष्ट सखी वृंद श्रीमन महाप्रभु की जय श्री राधा काला चांद जी की श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा सुदर्शन चक्र की श्री गौरनिताय की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की ओम Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukha karoti vachalam pangoram gayate girim yatkripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swami Niti Namine. Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaurakata Damadaya Nagara Grama Tarine. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So we're reading from chapter 6. Yeah, text from 9, right? Text 9, right? Yeah.
So maybe we can each read 2 or 3 to speed things up a little. The abode known as Kalyasa is full of different herbs and vegetables and is sanctified by Vedic hymns and mystic yoga practice. Thus the residents of the abode are demigods by birth and have all mystic powers. Besides them, there are other human beings who are known as Kunaras and Gandharvas and are accompanied by their beautiful wives who are known as Apsaras or angels. Kailasha is full of mountains filled with all kinds of valuable jewels and minerals and surrounded by all varieties of valuable trees and plants. The top of the hill is nicely decorated by various types of deer.
There are many waterfalls, and in the mountains there are many beautiful caves in which the very beautiful wives of the mystics are found. On Kailash Hill, there is always the rhythmical sound of the peacock's sweet vibrations and the bees humming. Cuckoos are always singing, and other birds whisper amongst themselves. There are tall trees with straight branches that appear to call the sweet birds, and when the herds of elephants pass through the hills, it appears that the Kailash Hill moves with them. When the waterfalls resound, it also appears that the Kailash Hill does also.
The whole Kailash Hill is decorated with various kinds of trees, of which the following names may be mentioned: Mandara, Parijat, Sarla, Tamala, Tala, Kovidara, Asana, Arjun, Armanjati, Manga, Kadamba, Dula Kadamba, Naga, Panag, Kampak, Patala, Asoka, Bakula, Kunda, and Kurabaka. The entire hill is decorated with such trees, which produce flowers with fragrant aromas. There are other trees also which decorate the hill, such as the golden lotus flower, the cinnamon tree, Malati, Kubja, Malika, and Madhavi.
The Kailash Hill is also decorated with such trees as Kata, jackfruit, Julara, banyan trees, Plakshas, Nyagrodas, and trees producing asafoetida. Also, there are trees of betel nuts and murja patra, as well as raja puga, blackberries, and similar other trees. There are mango trees, priyala, maduka, inguda. Besides these, there are other trees like thin bamboos, keen chaka, and varieties of other bamboo trees, all decorating the tract of Kailas Hill.
There are different kinds of lotus flowers, such as kumuda, utpala, and satapatra. The forest appears to be a decorated garden, and the small lakes are full of various kinds of birds who whisper very sweetly. There are many kinds of other animals also, like deer, monkeys, boars, lions, rikshas, shalakas, forest cows, forest asses, tigers, small deer, buffalo, and many other animals who are fully enjoying their lives. There are varieties of deer such as Karnatra, Ekapada, Avashya, Vika, and Katsuri, the deer which bears musk. Besides the deer, there are many banana trees which decorate the small hillside lakes very nicely.
There is a small lake named Alakanda, in which Sati used to take her bath, and that lake is especially auspicious. All the demigods, after seeing the specific beauty of Kailas Hill, were struck with wonder at the great opulence to be found there. Thus the demigods saw the wonderfully beautiful region known as Alaka in the forest known as Sangadika, which means full of fragrance. The forest is known as Sangadika because of its abundance of lotus flowers.
They also saw the two rivers named Nanda and Alakananda. These two rivers are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda. My dear Kshata, Vidura, the celestial damsels came down to those rivers in their airplanes with their husbands, and after sexual enjoyment they entered the water and enjoy sprinkling their husbands with water.
After the damsels of the heavenly planets bathe in the water, it becomes yellowish and fragrant due to kunkuma from their bodies. Thus the elephants come to bath there with their wives, the she-elephants, and they all drink the water although they are not thirsty. The aeroplanes of the heavenly denizens are bedecked with pearls, gold, and many valuable jewels. The heavenly denizens are compared to clouds in the sky, decorated with occasional flashes of electrical lightning.
While traveling, the demigods passed over the forest known as Saugandhika, which is full of varieties of flowers, fruits, and desire trees. While passing over the region of the forest, they also saw the regions of Yaksheshwara. In that celestial forest, there were many birds whose necks were colored reddish and whose sweet sounds mixed with the humming of the bees. The lakes were abundantly decorated with crying swans, as well as strong-stemmed lotus flowers.
All these atmospheric influences unsettled the forest elephants who flocked together in the sandalwood forest, and the blowing wind agitated the minds of the damsels. Therefore, further exile, sexual enjoyment. They also saw the bathing gods and their staircases were made of Vaduriya money. The water was full of lotus flowers. Passing by such lakes, the demigods reached the palace. There was a great banyan tree. The banyan tree was 800 miles high, and its branches spread over 600 miles around. The tree cast a fine shade which permanently cooled the temperature, yet there was no noise of birds.
I read the purport of this verse, right? 25. Okay. Yes. So we're going to focus on 25, yeah. You can keep the Sanskrit. Yayo surastriya kshatar avaruhya swadishnata kridanti pumshasincantyo Vigahya karshitaha. 3 times or? Yayo surastriya kshattar avaruhya swadishnataha kridanti pumshasincantyo Vigahya karshitaha. Yayo surastriya kshatar avaruhya swadishnataha kridanti pumshasintantyo vigahya karshitaha. Word by word, if you like to repeat. Yayo, in both of which rivers. Surastriya, the celestial damsels along with their husbands. Kshattaha, O Vidura. Avaruhya, descending. Swadishnataha, from their own airplanes. Kridanti, they play. Pumshaha, their husbands. Sinchantyaha, sprinkling with water. Vigahya, after entering the water. Ratikarshitaha, whose enjoyment has become diminished. Translation. My dear Kshatta, Vidura, the celestial damsels come down to those rivers in their airplanes with their husbands, and after sexual enjoyment, they enter the water and enjoy sprinkling their husbands with water. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It is understood that even the damsels of the heavenly planets are polluted by thoughts of sex enjoyment, and therefore they come in airplanes to bathe in the rivers Nanda and Alakananda. It is significant that these rivers, Nanda and Alakananda, are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, just as the Ganges is sacred because its water emanates from the toes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, so whenever water or anything is in touch with devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is purified and spiritualized. The rules and regulations of devotional service are based on this principle. Anything in touch with the lotus feet of the Lord is immediately freed from all material contamination. Haribo! The damsels of the heavenly planets, polluted by their thoughts of sex life, come down to bathe in the sanctified rivers and enjoy sprinkling water on their husbands. 2 words are very significant in this connection. Ratikarshitaha means that the damsels become morose after sex enjoyment. Although they accept sex enjoyment as a bodily demand, afterwards they're not happy. Another significant point is that Lord Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is described here as Tirtha Pada. Tirtha means sanctified place, and Pada means the lotus feet of the Lord. People go to a sanctified place to free themselves from all sinful reactions. In other words, those who are devoted to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna automatically become sanctified. The Lord's lotus feet are called Tirtha Pada because under their protection there are hundreds and thousands of saintly persons who sanctify the sacred places of pilgrimage. Srila Narottam Das Thakur, a great acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, advises us not to travel to different places of pilgrimage. Undoubtedly, it is troublesome to go from one place to another, but one who is intelligent can take shelter of the lotus feet of Govinda and thereby be automatically sanctified as a result of his pilgrimage. Anyone who is fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Govinda is called Tirtha Pada. He does not need to travel on various pilgrimages, for he can enjoy all the benefits of such travel by simply engaging in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a pure devotee who has implicit faith in the lotus feet of the Lord can create sacred places in any part of the world where he decides to remain. Tirti kurvanti tirtani, Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 13th chapter, text 10. The places are sanctified due to the presence of pure devotees. Any place automatically becomes a place of pilgrimage if either the Lord or his pure devotee remains or resides there. In other words, such a pure devotee who is engaged 100% in the service of the Lord can remain anywhere in the universe, and that part of the universe immediately becomes a sacred place where he can peacefully render service to the Lord as the Lord desires. Jai! Shri Radha Kalachand Ji ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. There are 3 parts to this particular talk today. First is about sex addiction. This is addiction. When we say sex, there's a subtle sex and then there's a gross sex. So the subtle sex aspect is anything that's opposite, perverted from Krishna. Anything that's spiritual, the opposite of it is that black hole. So that's going to be the first part of the talk today. The black hole that we all experience, and to some degree or another, the addictions, the obstacles, the battles that we face every day with our minds. And the second part of the class is going to be about the importance of association and how the association can transform the energies. Because the energy, we are personalists, so we're not planning to merge into the nothingness. We want to maintain that individuality. At the same time, we want to transform our energies so that we can become the best version of ourselves. So that's the second part of the talk today. And the third part is going to be about Mahadev, Lord Shiva. Because as we see here in these texts, this is the best place imaginable or even not beyond imagination anybody would like to have in this material world. And we see the contrast between all these devatas, all these damsels and demigods who are extremely attracted and mesmerized and addicted to sensual pleasures. And in the very same place with all these opulences is Mahadev, completely indifferent to all these facilities for enjoyment, and he's completely dedicated to the lotus feet of Radha Kalachand Ji. And he has no other attractions because he's attracted to the most attractive. So we're going to see that, the contrast between, in the same place, each of us could feel different. It's the same talk, the same verses, but depending on our consciousness, we will receive something, take away something, and we may elevate ourselves, or we could degrade ourselves in the very same location with the same circumstances. To begin with, here we're speaking about the elephants. So I want to start with the story of Gajendra. This Gajendra was a cursed elephant. He was actually a great king who got cursed because he was slightly inattentive momentarily. So I'm going to share the analogy of Gajendra being caught by this crocodile in the waters to our addictions. So we can compare our own spiritual journey to that struggle of Gajendra. Because spiritual journey is not about, okay, from today I will wear a sari and I wear this beautiful garland offered to the deities and I will wear my tilak and then I'm free from all addictions. I wish it was that easy. Well, by just saying, Kala Chandi, let's say that, Kala Chandi, all sins have run away. Now we're completely free, freed of all sins. Yet, what is the issue? The issue is that the desire, the tendency to want to commit is still there. It's not still gone because he only takes it away if we want him to take it away. So there was the situation exactly of Gajendra. And I'm going to be sharing some verses that represents that struggle of Gajendra. ಹಲವು ನದಿ ಹಲವು ಕೊಳ ಹಲವು ಸರೋವರದಿ ಹಲವು ಪುರಿ ಪುಷ್ಪಗಳು ಮೆರೆವ ಅಳಿಕುಳದಿ ಚಲವು ಗಂಧರ್ವ ಕಿನ್ನರಿಯರ ಸ್ಥಾನ ಕುಣಿವ ನವಿಲುಗಳ ಗಿಳಿಕೋಗೆಯಲ ಗಾನ ನಾರಾಯಣ ಕೃಷ್ಣ. Gajendra was exactly surrounded by all these descriptions that we just read. Beautiful flowers of kadamba and parijata and champa. The fragrance of the forest and the forest flowers was just so captivating the senses of these elephants. Gajendra was the king of the elephants and he was accompanied by all the she-elephants too. And as he was walking towards this pond filled with lotus flowers, ಜ್ಞಾನವಡಗಿದವು ಅಜ್ಞಾನ ಆವರಿಸೆ ಸೂರ್ಯ ಮುಳುಗಿದವು ಕತ್ತಲೆಯ ಮುಸುಕಂತೆ ಧ್ಯಾನಿಸುತ್ತ ಹಿಂದು ಮುಂದಾಗಿ ಕುಳಿತಿರಲು ಆನೆಯಾದನು ನೃಪನು ಆ ಕ್ಷಣದಿ ತಾನು ನಾರಾಯಣ ಕೃಷ್ಣ. In this context, we are actually witnessing Gajendra who is actually a devotee, but momentarily, when I say momentarily, it's at least 1,000 years, by the way, in the context of Srimad Bhagavatam, he is covered by ignorance. And the comparison our Vaishnava acharyas give us is how we also sometimes get covered. We forget why we are here in this world. We get so stuck on these trivial matters. Oh, my child didn't do that. Oh, I didn't find a partner who loves me the way I want. We get stuck up with those trivial matters, that we get lost, and that ignorance covers the sun of knowledge. And our acharyas say that sun can arise again, and what is that sun? Is the sun of Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because when Krishna left, Dharma and Jnana also left. Dharma Jnanadibhistaha Kalau Nashtam Drishammesha Puranarko Adhunodita. So when Krishna left, Dharma and Jnana also left. Means religious principles left, true knowledge left, and we were just left with ignorance. What is the ignorance? Ignorance of sense pleasure, ignorance of falling into that black hole, ignorance of thinking that there's anything more sheltering than Kalachandji, and to go after the substitutes in this world in the form of partner, in the form of child, in the form of lover, in the form of authority, whatever substitutes we're looking for is that black hole. And that black hole, what does it do? These are the prayers of Gajendra that I'm reciting here. ಅತ್ತಿತ್ತ ನೋಡಿದನು ಸುತ್ತ ನೋಡಿದನು ಎತ್ತ ನೋಡಿದರು ಬಿಡದಾಮ ಕರಿಕಾಲು ಎಳೆದೊಮ್ಮೆ ನೋಡಿದನು ಸೆಳೆದೊಮ್ಮೆ ನೋಡಿದನು ಹೇಗೆ ನೋಡಿದರು ಬಿಡದಾಮ ಕರಿಕಾಲು ನಾರಾಯಣ ಕೃಷ್ಣ. So Gajendra was struggling immensely in that lotus pond where this very terrifying crocodile caught the leg of Gajendra, just like our senses have given into all these vices like lust and greed and anger and addictions. Similarly, this crocodile caught hold of Gajendra's feet, and Gajendra tried in every way possible, just like we all try every day. We know the moment the alarm rings and we hit the snooze button, that's one battle lost. Every second of the struggle, just like Gajendra was trying left, means we're arguing with people in our lives and we're not getting our way. We're trying to pull in the right, just like Gajendra was pulling on the right, and the crocodile caught the leg even stronger. So similarly, the struggles of Gajendra is compared to the struggles of our mind and our senses every single moment of the day. And there was no no way that Gajendra could actually get out of the clutches. What's the next resolution or next refuge we go up to? Tanna sati sutarella seledandaragi tamma kailagadendendo tirugidaru yenna punyada phalavu hogi neevenda dummanadinda dooradaliddaravaru Narayana Krishna. So Gajendra was finally, he was like, I can't do it. I'm not able to get out of the clutches of my mind, my addictions, my weaknesses. Let me try to take shelter of my family. Again, the next black hole, right? First black hole is to think that I can fix my problem, and we try with our determination, and we fail, face flat on the earth. And then we wake up and we say, hey, you can help me, you can help me, you can help me. Gajendra had a huge family of elephants. We're talking about elephants here. We're not talking about humans lean, and then we fall off. Talking about elephants, very strong. And then Gajendra looked at his brothers, his family, the she-elephant who had captivated his mind. And he looked and he said, can you guys come and help me? And all these elephants looked up. No, sorry, we can't help you against that crocodile. That's our position too. Our acharyas say that when we depend on the substitutes in the form of extended family, society, and if we do not become vulnerable and humble in front of the Lord, even these shelters cannot provide us. Kachutali selayutali amakari kalu raktamayavagi tumbitu kolada neeru akattayanaginu gatiyaru enuta dikkettu tendu moreitta Gajaraja Narayana Krishna. So this scene is gruesome. Gajendra is struggling in those waters, trying to pull his leg left and right and pulling it and pushing it. And no matter what he's doing, constantly he's bleeding and bleeding. And the whole pond became red in color because of the blood that was oozing out of Gajendra's leg. Similarly, our acharyas compare. Srila Prabhupada gives us the analogy of the camel, which is very hungry. And he is so hungry that he goes to these thorns in the desert. He starts chewing those thorns. And the thorns, what does it produce? Blood in his mouth. And what does the camel think? Ooh, this is yummy. This is delicious. and our acharyas say that's our position too. We come into this material world to try to enjoy our senses. We think even for a moment, that moment is gone, it's hundreds of years gone. If we think that I can find some other happiness other than Kalachandji, other than Krishna, there will be something. I will fix my life. And we've been thinking about this for lifetimes. ಸುಖಾಯಂಗಳ ಕಳೆದು 84 ಲಕ್ಷ ಜೀವರಾಶಿಯನ್ನು ದಾಟಿ ಬಂದ ಈ ಶರೀರ. This body, this sharira has been trying to find that liberation. Now, what we want is basically, we want kingdom of God without God. Right? We want to enjoy the kingdom of God, but we don't want God. We want Rama Rajya, but we don't want Rama. We don't want to follow Rama. So our acharyas say that Dikku gettante moreitta Gajaraja. So just as Gajendra was lost, he could not find any shelter. His own strength fell short. His own family and his whole herd, they just said, I'm sorry, we cannot help, and they just walked away. And there was Gajendra standing for 1,000 years, crying in desperation. And finally he was like, Narayana Krishna, he picked up that lotus flower. Achyutananta Shri Hariyanna Kayo, Satchidananda Sarveshwarane Kayo, Bhaktavadsalane Bhava Bhanjanane Kayo, Kashtapadutene Karunisi Karunikayo, Narayana Krishna. So finally, Gajendra, because of all those samskaras, it took 1,000 years for those desires of sinful activities to be washed away. Finally, Gajendra couldn't remember Krishna, but Krishna remembered Gajendra. Krishna caused Gajendra to remember. So our acharyas actually indicate very clearly that there is no way on earth that we can make it Through our own intelligence, through our own senses, through our own mind, we cannot liberate ourselves. Only and only if He wants. It's all up to Him. If Krishna decides to make us remember, we will remember. What's the verse? Forgiveness, remembrance. Hridhi sannivishta matta smritirjnanam apohanam cha Vedaishcha sarvairahameva vedyo Vedanta kritveda eva chaham. So Krishna is situated in everybody's heart. And He decides when to give remembrance. He decides when to give forgetfulness. He decides when we should enjoy in our family life. He decides when to struggle in family life so we can stop investing in that black hole and turn towards Him. And finally realize that all the purports of everything we study, everything we experience, the purport is the basics ABC of realizing that He's our well-wisher, and everything we do, we should put Krishna in the center. And when we do that, then we can get out of the clutches of Gajendra's crocodile. And we have the crocodile, whatever our crocodile is. We are not asking here, but this is a question of introspection here. ಈರೇಳು ಭುವನವನು ಹೃದಯದೊಳಗಿಟ್ಟ ಕಾದುಕೋ ಎಂದು ಗಜರಾಜ ಮೊರೆಯಿಟ್ಟ ಆಹಾರ ನಿದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಸಾವಿರ ವರುಷ ಬಹುಳ ನೊಂದೆನು ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಕಾಯೋ ಬಾಯಂದ ನಾರಾಯಣ ಕೃಷ್ಣ. So this struggle represents the solution to this struggle represents our willingness. All we need is the willingness. There is the 12-step program for Sex Addicts Anonymous. Okay, just like there is it's 12 steps for the alcoholics, there's also for the sex addicts, and sex and love and fantasy. There are different variations of it. Some of us are, sex addicts in fantasy, some in love and relationships. So there's a step work, right? The first step is to realize that I cannot fix myself. Just like Gajendra realized, I cannot get out of this painful reality, which is the crocodile sucking the blood. Literally, it was sucking the blood. And even in our lives too, all these black hole solutions we're looking for, all these substitutes that I'm looking in this world is only draining my energies. And this is not the first time I've been doing this for lifetime and lifetime and lifetimes. So this one life, our acharyas say, this one life, try it differently. Try to give it to the Lord. Let the Lord take control. Be an instrument in the Lord's will. And what's the prayer of the 12-step Anonymous? One of my favorite prayers is the prayer of the third step. The third step is, Dear Krishna, I offer myself to Thee, to build with me and to do with me as Thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, so that I may better do Thy will. Remove my difficulties, so that the victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of Thy power, Thy love, and Thy way of life. May I do Thy will always. So this prayer releases us from that bondage of self, which Gajendra was struggling. The bondage of self was making him think that he can get out of the clutches, and it took him 1,000 years. How many years do we want to spend on this? We could spend lifetimes on this effort of trying to put the self-will in front of Krishna's will. So, it's a question. How many years do you have? Kaya kanjada prana hogutude munna yavaga hari bandu kayuvano yanna cheeridanu koogi more itta gajaraja danavantakanu kivigottu kelidano narayana Krishna. So finally, when Gajendra lifted his trunk with the little lotus bud that was in the pond, he picked it up and he suddenly remembered Adi Moola. He suddenly remembered Krishna. Yes. And when he picked up that lotus and held up in the sky high, Krishna, he was so eager. Krishna is more eager than us. So he was so eager hearing the scream of Gajendra. And he was screaming with utmost sincerity, with complete powerlessness, and with complete faith that only Krishna can restore me to sanity. Then Krishna heard him, and what did Krishna do? ಮಟುವಿನೊಳಗೆ ಗಜಮೊರೆ ಇಡಲ ಕ್ಷಣ ಮಡದಿಗೆ ಹೇಳದೆ ಗುಡುಗುಡನೆ ಬಂದು ಹಿಡಿದುನ ತಲವಾಯ ಕಡಿದು ಪಿಡಿಸಿದನೆ ಸಡಗರದಲ್ಲಿ ರಮೆ ಪೊಡವಿಯೊಡಗೂಡಿ. Krishna was in so much hurry. He just became so like, oh my God, Gajendra is calling me, finally he's calling me. And he forgot to tell Lakshmi Devi that he's going to earth to save Gajendra. And he rushed like anything. He didn't even wait for Garuda. He was just jumping down, and Garuda is like, what is my master doing today? What's happening? What's all this rush? And Garuda just flew down so that he could catch Vishnu, who was jumping down by himself. And then finally Garuda caught Vishnu, and they came down at this spot. So this is the eagerness of Kalachandji. Is waiting for us to go and admit in front of him, Krishna, Kalachandji, from today on, please take over the reins of my life. I am done doing self-will. Please, may your will be done. When the moment we say that, the life completely transforms. And that's when Krishna just came down. Shanka chakralla villandu shankisade, binkadinda garudanna pegaleri kolade, pankajakshiya kuda tanu sirisade, pankajanaba banda koleda kadege, Narayana Krishna. So, he even said, it says that he even forgot his Shanka and Chakra. As Vishnu is supposed to carry that around, he even forgot that. He said, I don't have time to carry Shanka and Chakra. My devotee is waiting for me. I have to rush. Now we may question, as I was questioning, why didn't Krishna act earlier? Why didn't he come earlier? Gajendra is a devotee. He was a great king. He'd done so much meditation. Sometimes we're in difficulty in life. We're struggling with some aspect of our life. We're calling him. But he's not coming. He's not really rescuing us at the moment that we're expecting him to. Another instance from Mahabharata gives that answer. So actually, Krishna himself answers this in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. He tells Uddhava, because Uddhava says, you're supposed to be Apad Bandhava. You're supposed to be the one who rescues all the orphans. You're supposed to rescue all those people who don't have shelter. Why you didn't rescue Pandavas, who were losing the dice game and they were losing everything? So Krishna says, well, because, there was a lot of self-will. They still thought they could do it. Yudhishthira thought the next one will come better in my favor. And then he was losing Bhima, and then he was losing Arjuna, he lost Nakul, he lost Sahadev. And at the point, he even lost Draupadi. And when he lost his wife, the empress of the world, he still didn't remember Krishna. Krishna says this. And Krishna says, I was waiting at the door. You should read the 11th canto. It's amazing, that section. He says, I was waiting at the door. And they were all blaming Bhishma and Drona and Dhritarashtra and Duryodhan. And he said, I thought at least Arjuna and Bhima would call me. They were still blaming Bhishma and Drona and Dhritarashtra. They didn't call me. Draupadi, however, she also tried self-will. She tried to keep her sari from being snatched by Dushasan. No, she was trying and trying. At one point she realized, actually there's no doing this. It's not going to work. Then what did she do? Hey Krishna, hey Vasudeva, hey Govinda. So she just started calling out. So she stopped looking for substitutes. She did try. She looked at Dhritarashtra, she called out for help. She looked at Drona, she called out for help. She looked at Bhishma and she said, Bhishma Dev, at least you can save me. Finally, she gave that teary-eyed look at the Pandavas, the 5 husbands. 5. We look, one husband, 5 powerful husbands, right? We think, when I find that one man or woman, that one person, we will be saved. And Draupadi had 5, and they couldn't save her. And so what Krishna says is not just calling out to him. It's calling out to him in the complete mood of Hariyu Garuda Neri Kariyatta Baralu Hara Parvatiyaru Nandiya Neri Kolalu Shiva Shirava Melina Gange Tulukadu Tiralu Hara Banda Kailasa Puradinda Ilidu Narayana Krishna. So in this verse, Lord Shiva also comes in this. When this event occurred, that the total vulnerability and powerlessness of Gajendra attracted the attention of the Lord in such an amazing way, such a indescribable, never ever seen before way. Even Lord Shiva, who was with Parvati in Kailash, the same Kailash we just read the description of, comfortable there, right? He doesn't have to go anywhere. But when he heard and witnessed this, that Vishnu is running in this way somewhere to save some elephant? An animal? How? So immediately Shiva and Parvati jumped on Nandi and they started their journey towards earth to witness this. They wanted to see what is Krishna going to do now. So this is the curiosity of Lord Shiva. Shiva has this bhakti, and regardless all circumstances. He is the Parama Vaishnava. He is the Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambho. Shivaratri is coming up on the 10th. And we must prepare our hearts and our minds to welcome the mercy of Lord Shiva, because without the mercy of Lord Shiva, we cannot attain Krishna. And Lord Shiva is that personification of humility and vulnerability. And the way he is able to please the Lord, he is known as the Mano Abhimani Devata. So the Vedas describe him as, because every senses, every organ in our body is ruled by a demigod. We have all these demigods here, as you can see in the temple room above. And these are all the Apsaras and the Devatas who have got the mercy of Radha Kalachandji. And they all, each Devata is ruling a particular sense in our body. So when we engage ourselves in devotional service, all these Devatas which rule over our senses, they become alert. And they say, oh, this body is in the service of Krishna. So they treat it differently. And Shiva, you know what sense he rules? Manobhimani Devata. He's a ruler of the mind. So even if we have all our senses intact, if this is gone, we're gone. We cannot function anymore. So we must pray to Lord Shiva to give us, like the way Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prays. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu composed only 2 things. One is Shikshashtakam, the 8 verses, where we read about our mood in devotional service. And the only other thing he composed is Shivashtakam. He composed 8 verses on Lord Shiva in Jagannath Puri. So he actually says that Mahadev is the guru of all living entities. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he declares that. How is that verse? I will remember later. I didn't take it down. Okay, so how many minutes do I have left? Huh?
Class ends at 8:30 usually.
Okay. And it's 8:30. But I have half class left to go. Okay. I'll just give a little like a sneak peek and then see if we have questions and comments and if you want to add something else. There's also Bilva Mangal Thakur as an example of a personality that had decided to give up his vices, give up his bad habits, and he took on to the path of spiritual life. He was very addicted to a prostitute. And then one day, he was so desperate that he was crossing this lake the day that his father died. And he was rushing the priest to finish the funeral ceremony quickly so he can go back to his black hole. And he was like, priest, finish up quickly so I can go to my shelter. So it was raining intensely and it was midnight and he was swimming across this lake. And at one point he reached this castle of the prostitute, the fort of the prostitute, and he wanted to jump over the compound wall because the gates were closed. Yesterday the gates were closed when we arrived at the temple. We didn't jump over though. So he jumped, he wanted to jump over, and then he saw something like a rope, and it was a snake, and he didn't care. He said, I still have to hold on to it and cross over. This is the extent to which our mind can go when we are addicted to the black hole of our life. It could be overthinking. we have this in the AA book, Alcoholic Anonymous book. Constantly they say the drinking problem, the drinking problem. We may not have drinking problem, but I definitely have the thinking problem. Self-will of thinking, I should get it this way, I should fix it that way, that person has to behave this way, my child has to behave that way, my child has to go through this. So that's the thinking problem we have. We are thinking addicts. So what did he do? He jumped and he went to see this prostitute, and this prostitute was like, what on earth? How can you be so attached to me? The intensity of your devotion and dedication to me is really useless. If only you could have an ounce of this attachment towards Kalachandji, towards Krishna, you would be something else. Why are you falling into this black hole? And that transformed him. Immediately he changed his mind and he became a saint. But the journey didn't end there. After he became a saint one day, the tendency is still there. Those sins may have been removed, but the tendency for enjoyment, the tendency to want to fill that black hole with a substitute, because that black hole is waiting for what is black. What's black in Sanskrit? Kala. So Kalachandji is the only one that can fix that black hole. And we're still looking for something else, and nothing else other than Kalachandji can fix that Kala black hole in our minds and our hearts. And then he gets attracted to this woman, and he follows this married woman to her home. And then the moment the husband and wife see this sadhu coming, and they say, please come, please have a seat. What would you like? Why have you come here? And the husband, the Bilvamangal Thakur very honestly says, well, I got attracted to your wife, so I came here following her. And the husband and the wife, he's a sadhu. So he tells the wife, oh, please go and, please go and please him. He's a sadhu. And then the moment he realizes what he has done, the moment of Krishna giving us that intelligence to tell us, hey, here is the mirror, what are you doing? Then Bilvamangal Thakur realizes, and then when the woman comes inside, she asks him, what can I do for you? And then he says, please give me the pin in your hair. And then she removes the pin in her hair and gives it to Bilvamangal Thakur, and he takes that pin and just pricks his eyes out from that pin. And this is his level of giving his life to Krishna and telling Krishna, I don't want to fill that black hole with anything else other than Kalachandji. You are my only refuge. Every other process I've done, every other ways I've tried to fill that black hole has been futile. And for lifetimes I've been stuck in this cycle, the rat race. Nobody is asking us to pluck our eyes here. We are just asked to be happy. Like morning we were chanting, right? I was feeling that we cannot do it alone. I was enjoying so much chanting with all of you in the morning, when you were doing the affirmations, also I was thinking, this is the way. We have to be reminded every mantra, every round. What's the purpose of the mantra? What Maha Mantra means to me. We cannot, the mind will not let us remind ourselves, because the Gajendra of the addictions and our weaknesses, we're caught with that. So we need the Sangha of devotees. And the devotees can remind us every round why we are chanting. Otherwise the mind will just go thinking about other nonsense, and we are feeding the weeds. We are watering the weeds, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. So while chanting, the intention for why we are chanting is very important. Otherwise, just chanting without clear intention will only increase the weeds. We're feeding the weeds. Okay, with that I will pause, and I had about Pingala, but for another day. Okay, any comments, any questions?
I don't have a question, but all I have to say is this is exactly the class that I needed to hear, so I thank you so much.
Me too.
Thank you very much for the scholarly class, Mataji. I was just wondering, the Kannada verses that you were chanting, could you please share the source of those?
Okay. It's Vadiraja Virachita. Vadiraja Acharya wrote this song. He came right after Madhvacharya. And he composed several verses, and this is the summary of Gajendra Moksha. And anybody who, by the way, this is the Phalastuti, I have to say that, thank you. So anybody who remembers and recites or hears Gajendra Moksha every day, Durbuddhi, Duswapna, Durvyasana. All these three things means tendency to do bad, bad dreams. Duswapna, Durbuddhi means the bad intelligence. All these will be gone, will run away, far away, by remembering Gajendra Moksha every day.
I will share that with my parents.
Yes.
Hopefully it will help them.
You can actually go to YouTube and say Gajendra Moksha Vadiraja, and then you'll find it. It's very calming, Every morning if you just recite it, especially if you know the language far out. And there's also, you can read for English, for those of us who want to do it in English, verses from Gajendra Moksha, if you just read it. You can even record it. That's what I used to do. I used to record the translations and just play it while taking shower. So because shower and Gajendra and bathing and waters, it's all connected. Bathing our minds from the desires. Prabhu, Kante Prabhu, you want to add something? No. Any other comments, questions?
Okay, so we're facing these difficulties. We throw our hands up and we're saying, Krishna, please help me. But somebody who hasn't seen that in their life, maybe doesn't have that faith, what does it look like? How does it practically look in a person who's not an elephant or not a saintly as Draupadi, little me who's trying to do his best doing bhakti? What does that look like?
Very good question. First of all, one of the Vaishnavacharyas in the Madhva Sampradaya, he says, was Gajendra your uncle's son? Is that why you rushed towards him? What was your... Nima Doddappana maganeno? He asks, So who is Gajendra to you? And he says, also Pingala and also Ajamil. He says, was Ajamil your grandson? Ninna Mommagana, he asks, was Gajendra your grandson? You came to... Ajamil was so sinful. He didn't even call you Narayana, he was calling his son. And somehow, as if he was your grandson, you liberated him. And Gajendra, he was an elephant. For God's sake, he was not even a human being. Why did you save him? And I am calling you again and again, why are you not coming? Karedare barabarade. So, why are you not coming, even though I'm calling you? So, there is there are two sides to this question. Sometimes we wonder, does really Krishna come? He came even to the elephant, but he doesn't seem to be responding to me. There's that thought. And on another side, we think the opposite. We think, Gajendra was great because Krishna came. I am nobody. Will he come? So there is one very beautiful exchange between, this is one of our Vaishnava saints who wrote this song. He says, Yanagu aane ranga ninagu aane yanagu ninagu ibbarigu ninna bhaktarane. He says, let's make a contract, Krishna. Okay. And so in the contract, let's face both sides of the contract, both sides of reality. Okay. Tanu manadanadali vanchakanadare yanage aane ranga manassu ninnali nillisadiddare ninage aane. You understand Kannada, right? Yeah. So if I cheat with my body, mind, or my words, it's my side of the contract broken. But that contract is valid only as long as you keep your side of the contract. Your side of the contract is manassu, means mind, ninnali nillisadiddare. If you don't keep my mind on you, then it's your side of the contract broken. So everything is so beautifully composed. Kaku manujara sangava madidare nage aane ranga laukikavani bidisadiddare ninage aane. So if I associate with worldly minded people, my side of the contract is broken. Okay, that's my responsibility. But at the same time, you need to keep your side of the contract. You have to get me rid of material desires. And if you do that, then I'll be able to keep this contract. Right? ಶಿಷ್ಟರ ಸಂಗವ ಮಾಡದಿದ್ದರೆ ಎನಗೆ ಆಣೆ ರಂಗ ದುಷ್ಟರ ಸಂಗವ ಬಿಡಿಸದಿದ್ದರೆ ನಿನಗೆ ಆಣೆ. He kind of brings it to the circle. He says, if I don't, show up, and I don't associate with sadhus, my side of the contract broken. But the other side, right? The other side is the key. But if you don't give me sadhu sangha and keep me away from bad association, then it's yours. So it goes on and on, okay? Finally, it's like, manasuni, what's that? This one, this is my favorite. ಹರಿ ನಿನ್ನಾಶ್ರಯ ಮಾಡದಿದ್ದರೆ ಎನಗೆ ಆಣೆ ರಂಗ ಹರಿ ನಿನ್ನಾಶ್ರಯ ಮಾಡದಿದ್ದರೆ ಎನಗೆ ಆಣೆ ರಂಗ ಲೌಕಿಕವಾನಿ ಬಿಡಿಸದಿದ್ದರೆ ನಿನಗೆ ಆಣೆ ಕಲಚಂಜಿ ಲೌಕಿಕವಾನಿ ಬಿಡಿಸದಿದ್ದರೆ ನಿನಗೆ ಆಣೆ. ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಹಿ ಸೇಸ್ ಲೌಕಿಕವಾನ ಬಿಡಿಸಿದ್ದರೆ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಒಲಿಯದಿದ್ದರೆ ನನಗೆ ಆಣೆ ಹರಿ ನಿನ್ನಾಶ್ರಯ ಮಾಡದಿದ್ದರೆ ಎನಗೆ ಆಣೆ ನೀನು ಒಲಿಯದಿದ್ದರೆ ನಿನಗೆ ಆಣೆ. ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಕಮ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಾಲ್ ಔಟ್ ಟು ಯು ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಟೇಕ್ ಯುವರ್ ಶೆಲ್ಟರ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೈ ಸೈಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಬ್ರೋಕನ್. But if you don't make me remember that and be mine, then it's your side of the contract broken. So the point is ultimately the two fingers short. Effort and mercy. But the point is, even what does it mean effort? To show up? You know, what does it mean effort? Even that, yeah, but even that we cannot do unless sarvasa chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam aporanam cha. I cannot be intelligent unless he gives me the intelligence. So to make that effort, to ask him to keep me enthusiastic, to make that effort, to ask him to intervene and make me act intelligently. So the whole point about effort and mercy, through the Gajendra Moksha prayers, through Ajamila's prayers, through Pingala's prayers, again and again it comes up that I have no control. And as long as I don't ask him to remove the bondage of self,